Chapter 1. Impactful Opening. If I asked you right now, do you consider yourself more productive, less productive, or average compared to other people? What would your answer be? Most people answer without thinking much, based only on their feelings about their daily lives. Oh, I work a lot, so I must be productive. Or, I'm always busy, I don't stop for a minute, so I'm definitely above average. But is that true? Here's the shock. Being busy doesn't mean being productive. And that's the first big revelation we're going to explore together. Productivity isn't about running around, filling your schedule with appointments, or spending the whole day answering messages. Productivity is about results. It's about what you actually deliver, the impact you generate, and how far you can advance toward your goals. Imagine someone who spends 10 hours a day in the office, always feeling like they're working hard. Now compare that to someone else who works 6 hours, but organizes their tasks, focuses on what matters, and delivers twice the results. Who is more productive? The answer is obvious, but most people still get it wrong. And that's exactly what we're going to reveal throughout this content. How to truly measure your productivity, where you stand in relation to the majority, and what it takes to level up. Get ready, because the answer may surprise you, and even shock you. Chapter 2. The Myth of Productivity. When someone says, "I am very productive," they are almost always referring to being busy. It's that feeling that the day was full, that there wasn't even time to breathe. But here's the problem. Being busy is not synonymous with being productive. Think about how many times you've spent hours in meetings that led nowhere. Or how many times you've spent endlessly answering emails, putting out fires, but at the end of the day you realized you hadn't made any real progress. This is all too common. The truth is that many people confuse movement with progress. It's like running on a treadmill. You're sweating, tired, expending energy, but you're still in the same place. Real productivity is different. It's linked to impact, to the results you generate, to how much you can transform effort into real progress. In everyday life, we use expressions like working like crazy, not stopping for a minute, chasing your own tail. They all perfectly describe this trap. The person feels they are doing a lot, but in practice they are not achieving what they would like. And you know what's even more curious? This myth of productivity is fueled by the work culture itself. Companies value those who seem busy, who always have a full schedule, who respond quickly to messages. But they rarely stop to measure what really matters, the results delivered. Imagine two people. The first works 12 hours a day, always rushing, always busy, but delivers little. The second works 7 hours, organizes their tasks, focuses on what is essential and delivers much more. Who is more productive? The answer is clear, but most people are still mistaken because they associate productivity with visible effort, not real impact. This myth is dangerous because it creates a false sense of progress. You feel you are advancing, but in reality you are just wearing yourself out. It's like driving a car at high speed without realizing you're going around in circles. The engine works, the fuel goes down, but you remain in the same place. And this is where the turning point begins. Productivity isn't about the quantity of hours, it's about the quality of results. That's the difference between being busy and being productive. And understanding this is the first step to seeing where you really stand in relation to others. Chapter 3. The Number That Really Matters. Now that we've debunked the myth of productivity, we need to talk about what really matters: net worth. Just as in wealth, what defines your position is not your salary, but your net worth, in productivity what matters is not how much you work, but how much you deliver after discounting all the wasted time. We can call this net productivity. It's the final balance between effort and result. It's what's left after eliminating distractions, rework, useless meetings, and hours spent on tasks that don't move the needle. Let's think of simple examples. A person spends 10 hours in the office, but 4 of those hours are in inconclusive meetings, 2 hours on social media, and 1 hour in side conversations. In the end, only 3 hours were truly productive. Another person works 6 hours, but organizes their tasks, focuses on what is essential, and manages to use 5 of those hours on high-impact activities. Who has higher net productivity? Clearly, the second person. She worked fewer hours, but delivered more results. That's the shock. Most people measure productivity by the clock, but the clock doesn't tell the whole story. What counts is what you actually manage to transform into progress. And here's an important reflection. How many hours of your day are truly productive? If you stop to measure, you might discover that your net productivity is much lower than you imagine. Just like the ladder of wealth, there's a ladder of productivity. And to know which rung you're on, it's not enough to look at how busy you feel. You need to measure what remains in real deliverables. That's the key. Productivity isn't about visible effort, it's about invisible impact. It's about what you leave as a result at the end of the day. Chapter 4. The Example Character, Lucas. To better understand how this idea of net productivity works, let's follow the story of a fictional person. Lucas, 29 years old, marketing analyst. Lucas has a good job, earns a reasonable salary, and works for a medium-sized company. He considers himself productive because he spends many hours in the office, always busy, always with the feeling that he is doing a lot. But is that true? Let's take a closer look at his routine. Lucas arrives at 9 a.m. and leaves at 7 p.m., that is, 10 hours of work per day. Of these 10 hours, 3 are spent in meetings that rarely reach a practical conclusion. Another 2 hours are spent on emails, messages, and small administrative tasks. 1 hour is lost on social media and side conversations. In the end, only 4 hours are actually dedicated to important projects and concrete deliverables. In other words, despite working 10 hours, his net productivity is only 4 hours. Now let's compare him to a teammate, Marina. Marina works 7 hours a day. She organizes her tasks early, sets priorities, and uses focus techniques like the Pomodoro technique. At the end of the day, 6 hours were dedicated to high-impact activities. Result: Marina works fewer hours, but delivers more than Lucas. Who is more productive? Clearly, Marina. This example shows how perception can be deceiving. Lucas feels productive because he is always busy, but when we measure what really matters, the net result, he is below average. And perhaps you see yourself in Lucas. Perhaps you also feel that you are always rushing, always busy, but when you look at the results you realize that you are not progressing as much as you would like. This is the trap of apparent productivity. You confuse effort with impact. And that's why we need a clear way to measure where we are. In the next chapter, we will introduce the productivity ladder, a way to visualize the different levels and understand which rung you are on today. Chapter 5. The Ladder of Productivity. Just as there is a ladder to wealth, there is also a ladder to productivity. Each step represents a different level of performance, and understanding where you are is fundamental to knowing how to climb. Let's explore each level with everyday examples. Level 1. Busy but unproductive. This is the lowest step. Here are the people who are busy but deliver little. They work long hours, but much of the time is wasted on distractions, meaningless meetings, and irrelevant tasks. They feel like they are always rushing, but when they look at the results, they realize they haven't made any progress. Example: someone who spends the whole day putting out fires at work but never completes important projects. Level 2. Basic productivity. At this level, the person can already deliver the minimum necessary. They meet deadlines, do what is asked, but without consistency or distinction. They still waste a lot of time on low-impact activities. Example: an employee who always delivers reports, but without quality or innovation. They do what needs to be done, but nothing beyond that. Level 3. Average productivity. Here are the people who truly consider themselves productive. They manage their time better, deliver stable results, and maintain a functional routine. However, they still don't stand out. They are average, along with the majority. Example: someone who meets their monthly goals, but doesn't go beyond them. They are reliable, but not a benchmark. Level 4. High productivity. At this level, the difference begins to appear. The person uses systems, techniques, and habits to optimize their time. They manage to eliminate distractions, prioritize what matters, and deliver consistent, high-impact results. They are seen as efficient, problem-solving, and value-generating. Example: a professional who manages to deliver complex projects ahead of schedule, maintaining quality and balance. Level 5. Top 10% productive. This is the top of the ladder. These are people who achieve extraordinary results in less time. They use deep focus, discipline, and advanced strategies to multiply their impact. Often, they seem magical to others because they accomplish in a few hours what would take an ordinary person days. Example: entrepreneurs, leaders, or professionals who manage to scale businesses, create innovative solutions, and still maintain time for their personal lives. How to climb the ladder. The good news is that no one is stuck at one level forever. Just like on the ladder to wealth, it's possible to climb step by step with conscious choices. From level 1 to 2, simply start eliminating distractions and focusing on the basics. From level 2 to 3, you need to better organize your time and create consistency. From level 3 to 4, this is where productivity techniques come in, such as Pomodoro, batching, and deep work. From level 4 to 5, requires discipline, strategic vision, and deep focus. The most important thing is to understand that productivity is not an innate talent, it's a trainable skill. Each person can climb the ladder if they are willing to measure their results and adjust their habits. Chapter 6. Comparison with the majority. Now that you know the productivity ladder, it's time to compare yourself to the majority. And here comes a revelation that may disturb you. Most people are far below what they imagine. Let's look at some common data and behaviors. On average, professionals spend 2 to 3 hours a day on social media or browsing websites unrelated to work. Meetings occupy about 35% of office time, and a large part of them do not generate practical decisions. Procrastination consumes between 1 and 2 hours daily, whether delaying the start of a task or postponing deliveries. If we add all this up, we realize that a good part of the day is wasted. That is, even those who work 8 or 10 hours often only manage to be truly productive for 3 or 4 hours. Now think, where do you fit in? Are you closer to level 2, delivering only the basics? Have you already reached level 4, with focus and consistency? Perhaps you're at level 3, along with most people, believing you're productive, but in reality, only average. This comparison exercise is fundamental because it shows that perception doesn't match reality. Many people believe they are above average, but when we look at the numbers, we discover they are only in the middle or even below. And here's the shock: most people are at level 2 or 3. Few reach level 4, and even fewer reach level 5, the top of the ladder. But this is no reason for discouragement. On the contrary, knowing where you are is the first step to change. It's like looking in the mirror and finally seeing the truth. It may be uncomfortable, but it's liberating. In the next chapter, we will delve deeper into this reality check and show why being busy doesn't mean you're progressing. Chapter 7. The Reality Check. Up to this point, we've seen that being busy doesn't mean being productive. But now it's time to face the reality check. Most people are far below what they imagine when it comes to productivity. Many people believe they are average or even above average, but when we measure the real results, we discover that they are just running in circles. It's like that car that accelerates non-stop, but remains stuck in the same block. The engine works, the fuel runs out, but the destination doesn't change. This shock happens because we confuse effort with progress. Working late doesn't mean you've made progress. Answering hundreds of messages doesn't mean you've made an impact. Participating in endless meetings doesn't mean you've solved problems. Productivity is about results. It's about what you leave behind at the end of the day, not about how much you wore yourself out to get there. And here's the hardest part: when you compare your net productivity to others, you might find that you're far below. Perhaps you see yourself as productive, but in practice you're only at level 2 or 3 of the ladder, along with the majority. This revelation can be uncomfortable, but it's necessary. Because only when you understand where you really are can you begin to change. It's like looking at a map. If you don't know your current location, there's no point in charting a course to your destination. The shock of reality isn't failure. It's information. And information is power. Knowing that you're below average can be painful, but it can also be the turning point that takes you to the next level. In the next chapter, we'll show you exactly how to climb this productivity ladder, with practical strategies and habits that can transform your routine. Chapter 8. The Path to Leveling Up. Knowing where you are on the productivity ladder is important, but what truly transforms your life is understanding how to level up. The good news is that productivity isn't an innate talent. It's a skill that can be trained and developed. 1. Eliminate distractions. The first step is to cut out what steals your time. Social media, limit its use during work. Notifications, Turn off unnecessary alerts. Side conversations. Learn to say no when you need to focus. Every minute you recover is another brick in building your net productivity. 2. Define real priorities. Productivity isn't about doing everything, it's about doing what matters. Ask yourself, if I could only do one thing today, what would it be? Use short to-do lists, 3 to 5 items, instead of endless lists. Classify activities as urgent, important, and irrelevant. This prevents you from wasting energy on tasks that don't move the needle. 3. Use focus techniques. There are simple methods that help maintain concentration. Pomodoro, 25-minute blocks of focus with short breaks. Batching, grouping similar tasks to do at once. Deep work, long periods of deep work without interruptions. These techniques multiply your net productivity without requiring more hours. 4. Measure your results. What is not measured cannot be improved. Note how much time you actually dedicate to important tasks. Compare weekly deliverables with the time spent. Adjust your routine based on data, not feelings. Just as with wealth, where net worth shows the reality, in productivity the numbers reveal where you are. 5. Create consistent habits. Productivity is not about big, sudden changes, but about small, accumulated habits. Start the day by setting priorities. Reserve fixed blocks of time for important tasks. End the day by reviewing what was done and planning the next. Over time, these habits become automatic and your productivity grows compounded, like the interest on an investment. 6. Think strategically. At the highest level of the ladder, it's not enough to work hard, you need to work smart. Delegate tasks that don't require your direct attention. Automate repetitive processes. Invest in learning to increase your value and efficiency. True productivity is about multiplying impact, not just saving minutes. Practical example, Lucas's evolution. Returning to our character, Lucas. Initially, he was stuck at level 2, always busy, but unproductive. By eliminating distractions and setting priorities, he moved up to level 3. With focused techniques and consistent habits, he reached level 4. And by thinking strategically, delegating, and automating, he managed to get close to level 5. Lucas's journey shows that anyone can evolve. It's not about talent, it's about decision and discipline. Chapter 9. 3 Possible Scenarios. Now that you understand the productivity ladder and how to level up, let's imagine 3 different futures. All start with the same person, with the same initial routine, but each scenario shows the impact of choices over time. Scenario 1. Nothing changes. Here, the person continues exactly as they are. They maintain the same habits, remain busy, but unproductive. They spend hours in meetings, on social media, and on irrelevant tasks. They deliver only the basics, without consistency or distinction. Result, after years, this person is still at level 2 or 3 of the ladder, believing they are productive, but in reality, only average. The problem is that, in this scenario, they never stand out. They continue running in circles, without truly advancing. Scenario 2. Adjusts habits. Here, the person decides to change small things. They eliminate distractions, better organize their time, and define priorities. Use simple focus techniques, such as Pomodoro or batching. Create consistent habits, such as reviewing tasks daily. Result, in a short time, this person climbs to level 3 or 4 of the ladder. They begin to deliver more consistent results, gain recognition, and start to stand out. It's not a gigantic leap, but it's a clear and sustainable evolution. Scenario 3. Goes beyond. In this scenario, the person decides to be aggressive in the pursuit of productivity. They invest in advanced organizational systems and deep focus. They learn to delegate and automate repetitive tasks. They think strategically, seeking to multiply impact instead of just saving minutes. Result, this person reaches level 5 of the ladder, entering the group of the 10% most productive. They achieve extraordinary results in less time, become a reference, and open up space for new opportunities. Here, productivity ceases to be just efficiency and becomes a competitive advantage. The lesson of the 3 scenarios. The most interesting thing is that they all start from the same point. The difference isn't in talent, but in choices. Those who don't change remain stuck. Those who adjust their habits evolve. Those who go further stand out and reach the top. This shows that productivity is a matter of decision. You choose whether you will remain average or seek the next level. Chapter 10. Motivating Conclusion. We've reached the end of our journey up the productivity ladder. At the beginning, I asked you, how productive are you in relation to others? The answer will shock you. And now you have the tools to answer clearly. You saw that being busy doesn't mean being productive. You understood that what really matters is net productivity, the final balance between effort and result. You followed Lucas's story and realized how small changes can completely transform a routine. And you learned about the productivity ladder, with its 5 levels, from the unproductive busy to the top 10% most productive. The shock of reality is that most people are below what they imagine. But that's not a failure, it's information. And information is power. Knowing where you are is the first step to deciding where you want to go. Now, the choice is yours. You can continue at the same pace, always busy, but without advancing. You can adjust habits and climb a few steps. Or you can go further, invest in focus, discipline, and strategy, and reach the top of the ladder. Productivity isn't about working more. It's about working better. It's not about running faster, it's about running in the right direction. And when you understand that, your life changes. So, I return to the initial question. How productive are you compared to others? Perhaps the answer shocked you. But that's good. Because shock is what awakens. And awakening is the first step to evolving. The ladder of productivity is before you. Now it's time to decide, on which rung do you want to be in a year, in 5 years, in 10 years? The answer is in your hands.